All right, welcome in. First weekend update that we've had without a football game coming up on the weekend. I guess there is with the Pro Bowl, but as you can tell, no one cares about the Pro Bowl. I don't think they're actually playing a game. It's just gonna be like a Madden event or something. But anyway, today on this weekend show, we're gonna talk about what the Blue Jays are doing, uh, what the future for the Toronto Raptors and Kyle Lowry might look like. Our boy Deshaun Watson has officially requested his trade, and it might be because they have a new head coach, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. Off the start, we're going to talk about what the Blue Jays have been doing. Huge splash with George Springer. We talked about that a bit last week. On
Mhm.
uh, on the show earlier this week, we talked a little bit about Marcus Seaman, who is going to play second base, which kind of frees up Calvin Biggio for maybe not being a full time player. Who I think it's the right thing for him because he was the least developed of the hitters, but he also has the most pure swing, so he might have the highest upside of all of them. So why not have an extra infielder? And they paid a premium for the guy. He got 1 year, $18 million. But they also just made a trade for Steven Matz from the Mets, basically giving up two prospects that no one's ever heard of, and Sean Reed Foley, who I guess the full-time Blue Jays fan would have heard that name before. And Blue Jays fans always get scared when it's time to trade prospects because the future always matters. But when it comes to pitching, like ask any Blue Jays fan who Kyle Drabek is, and they're gonna sink into their chair. and but yeah, I mean, when it comes to like Kalen, you like the Red Sox, you're in the AL East. The Yankees obviously decided to not pick up to knock his contract and let him go back to sign in Japan. But how are you
Weird.
feeling about what's going on right now?
Well, I'm always overconfident about my team, Shane. We know that by now, right? But I do think that the Blue Jays GM might be smelling a little blood in the water. I think
Mm,
that's making all these moves and doing. I didn't think they would be doing the being as aggressive as they were going to be in free agency, going after the players they went after. You don't sign a guy in his early 30s now to a contract like that who's known to hit the ball unless you're chasing something, and that's
mm-hmm.
I think that's what he's doing right now down in Toronto. So it's going to be fun. The AL East is always a blast to watch. I don't know how well the Red Sox will do this year. We'll have to see how that pans out with the new skipper, right? Yeah, it's going to
Yes.
be it's going to be a rough couple of years, I think, here while things pan out. But Blue Jays will be fun to watch.
Chad, what do you think?
I'm just happy they're trying. They're spending money, which isn't something they've done in a long time. We've been around a couple of years ago, but we just traded with the farm to get that. Kind of what you touched about
Yep.
sending away prospects. And at that point, it was worth it because we were making one run. We've actually never seen them spend money. So
Right.
it's kind of a cool thing as a Blue Jays fan. You're like, all right, well, he's taking a chance. He's taking a shot, and I'm okay with it. But there's really, I would say this, Rogers owns the fucking Jays, so it's about time that all those phone bills paid for something.
Yeah, yeah. And there's a team in Toronto that's been incredibly successful recently. Probably the only Toronto team that's been successful over the last, I guess, 4 years since the Blue Jays kind of had their run, and that's the Toronto Raptors. And
Mhm.
the Toronto Raptors have been known to push their chips in the middle to go get who they wanted in this offseason, and it's all rumors, but apparently they cleared a bunch of cap space to go get Giannis Oladipo or the guy,
Yeah.
buddy
Antetokounmpo.
from
Welcome to my life, Shane.
yeah,
Announcing last name.
yeah, buddy from Milwaukee, and it was a swing and a miss. So I mean, ultimately they lost out on a lot of free agents. They weren't able to
Mhm.
bolster the roster. Um, I think that what Kyle Lowry was saying in his press conference yesterday was basically like, I've been here, I've fought through everything, but I don't control the future. So like, maybe don't blame it on me if I'm going to get traded. And I guess my question to you after I'm done ranting for a second is, if you're Masai, the GM and president of the rapper, I don't know his name just escaped me, Masai Ajiri. Uh,
Yeah,
would you
close
trade
enough.
Kyle Lowry? Would you trade him halfway through the season at the deadline here, or would you wait till next year to see what kind of value you can get? Keeping in mind that he's owed like $31 million next year, something along those lines.
Yeah, the Raptors are in trouble, I
I
think,
guess I'll
with
go first.
cap because. But Was it delayed? Are you hearing me there, boys?
Who's going?
Yeah. Kevin,
Okay,
go ahead.
sorry. I thought Chad said he was going to go. So I think that the Raptors really got pushed into a corner there cap wise. Like they're struggling now with Lowry having the $31 million issue, and then you've got Siakam. He played incredibly well, which earned himself a big contract. But I think that when all the fans are going to love Siakam, but I think we can all realistically agree that Siakam isn't worth that contract. Kyle Lowry isn't worth $31 million. I think you're going to have to make some moves, and getting rid of a player like Kyle Lowry, who is I still don't see him as a clutch player. You're not putting the ball in his hands for the last shot, even on the team that's there now. I don't think you still do that. So get rid of him. See what you can get for him. There's plenty of point guards across the league that you can pick up in the offseason. But yeah, you're going to have to – Siakam is what your future – you've signed up – you've handcuffed yourself to him. So get rid of Lowry.
Man, how quickly you forget. You're such a Celtics fan. Chad, what are you thinking? You're up now.
Kind of like what you guys touched on. You have to get the value that's there. If he is still one of the best point guards in the league, if you're not going to win and you owe him $30 million, you have to sell now. Sell him at his ceiling. Don't sell him on after the season if he's had a bad year, because then your value just goes down. Because when you make a trade, it's based off stats and analytics and all those fun things. If he has an off year, you're going to get less back for him.
Right.
So if you can sell him before the deadline to a team that's making a push, your value for him could be higher, because then you're just filling a hole and a need, opposed to what he could be actually valued at.
Yeah, I mean, if
you're one player away in basketball, that's a lot. So I think it'd be better to get rid of him at the deadline than it is down at the end of the road there.
Right. Yeah, I think like a team like the Lakers get him and they become the favorite to win the whole thing again. But
if not already,
like a true point guard. Well, I mean, between them and Brooklyn, and like once the 1-9er gets out of the Clippers locker room, obviously they're a good team, and like Utah and Denver, and there's lots of teams in the West and about 2 in the East. But let's go to what we were really talking about before we came on here, just before we were recording, and that's our guy Deshaun Watson. He wants out of Houston. I'll be honest, when you first brought this up a month ago, I was like, fuck that. It doesn't really matter. Someone is always mad going into the offseason, but it seems like the social media hype train piled on top of him. All these guys coming out and saying, take a stand, don't go back. It's all in his head. So he has officially requested his trade. So Chad started a game last week. I guess not last week, last episode. And we were talking about different landing spots for players. Deshaun Watson did not make our list of players that we were going to reassign. So my question to you, we don't have to go into 3. Maybe if you have 3 off the top of your head, let's talk about 3 teams that could make a move for Deshaun Watson and what a potential return could look like. If it might be players or picks, we don't have to get super specific as far as evening the trade out, but like what do you think it might look like?
So the one team they keep talking about is the Jets. And now supposedly his dad asked for him to go to the Jets and told him to go to the Jets. But the value that you're going to get back for him, if I'm the Jets, Deshaun Watson is, I'd say, probably a top 5 quarterback in this league right now. What do I have to give up to get that player?
Right.
If it involves a first, a second, and then probably 2 more firsts, I'm comparing it to the RG3 trade a couple years ago.
And this is a proven commodity, right?
Yeah. And Washington never recovered from that trade. So, and that was to get RG3. And this isn't a shot at RG3, but he's not Deshaun Watson. He was a draft pick. You didn't know what he's going to turn into. This is a premier passer in this league. It's one of those things where they're going to want at least probably two 1s and 2 2s. Are you ready to sacrifice that to get him? And that's on the low end, right? Those are top picks. So if you send and I don't think they want Sam Darnold back in return. They want draft picks. They have to recoup what they lost.
Right. And I guess the question that I would say is, absolutely, that is what Houston would want. Now, knowing the situation that Houston's in and knowing where Deshaun Watson's headspace is, do you feel like Houston's actually going to get the return for what they think they should get? because all it takes is that guy to just not show up to training camp, and then it's
They
panic
posted
mode.
it today though, and the amount of money he'll lose. It's like if he doesn't show up to mini camp, it's 50,000. If he misses a preseason game, it's 650,000.
Per
If he
game
misses
or
per game in preseason, and I think it's like 20 or 30,000 per day of training camp he loses.
wow.
So if he doesn't show up, so if I'm the Texans and I don't get what I want, okay. If you want to play for nothing and pay me back, you're gonna waste your career away. Like we just
Right.
paid you. So
Well,
that's where
I
I'm at,
think
but I'm a
that,
petty asshole.
I don't know if Nick Caserio is going to start his career off in Houston making bad PR like that when they've already taken some pretty bad press this offseason as it is. So I think that he'll probably ship him out more than likely. My landing spot, specifically Matt Rule came out and made a comment of I need a quarterback that knows how to close out games. I need to find that quarterback, something along those lines. So here's your trade. 2 firsts, a third, and Teddy Bridgewater going to Houston for Deshaun Watson. I think that can potentially make it happen. They're a team that can inherit the salary too. So,
yeah, I mean, it's your trade, so you can make it. I think that one will get declined on Madden, but the Teddy Bridgewater going back is probably not something that Houston wants, because if they're going to clear their books as far as the cap goes, they're going to want to bring in a quarterback that's a little bit less expensive, and there are going to be guys out there for sure. Now, unless they really
nothing.
Yeah, but I mean, unless they really like Bridgewater. Now, where's Carolina drafting in this year's? Like, would they be in the top 10? Yeah,
7. No, sorry, Detroit's number 7, but they're in the top 10.
Right. So, like, what quarterback are you going to get in the first round? We're assuming Trevor Lawrence is gone, first pick.
Lawrence, Fields, and they're saying now Trey Lance has gone too in the first 4. So,
wow. So, like, a quarterback that I like in the draft is Zach Wilson from BYU. Now, I'm not sure I would take him with the top 10 pick, but if the Steelers took a look at him back in the 20s, it wouldn't hurt my feelings. But they're gonna have to get a haul back. I do think that if I was the Texans, I'd be looking for players and picks. But if I was looking for a player on Carolina, I'd be looking at a guy like Brian Burns, who's going into his 4th year, 3rd year, I think. He's relatively inexpensive, but he's about to become a premier pass rusher in the league, and you get a guy like that back. Because if you're giving up on Deshaun Watson, there's a 0% chance that JJ Watt's back next year either.
Yeah.
And that creates a very, very tough situation for the next guy we're going to talk about. And I actually didn't write down his name because I've never heard of him before, but I think Kayla knows his name. The Ravens assistant quarterbacks coordinator, ball lacer, who Houston hired to be their next head coach. You have way more information on what the structure is going to be in Houston, so I'm going to let you start.
Yeah. Okay. So I think it's Dave Culley. Could be wrong with the name, but so he, so 2 days ago, there was tweeted out that from some reporters that Josh McCown was likely to be the head coach of Houston, which I thought was kind of interesting. The guy just came off the couch, being a weekend quarterback, and then he's going to be a head coach overnight. And then the rumblings started coming out regarding Leslie Frazier and this Dave Culley or Nick Culley, I can't remember what it was. Anyway, and so then he gets hired today, and then Pep Hamilton gets hired as the quarterbacks coach. And this right after the Culley hiring was announced, there was another reporter started tweeting out again that Josh McCown was likely to be the quarterbacks coach. So when Pep Hamilton gets hired as the quarterback coach, now they're saying that Josh McCown is still going to get hired in some aspect. He's supposed to be getting groomed under this Culley head coach because he's an older fella. And in a couple of years when he retires, then McCown will be taking over the reins as the head coach. I think it's interesting. I have no idea how much truth is to this, but it's more than one reporter that has tweeted this information out. It's a pretty unique approach for Houston to be taking. It's the long game, certainly what it sounds like. I don't think they're going to be getting too much out of Culley early on. You and I don't know anything about him. I believe, actually, you know who we did the last time that he was a position coach? He was the position coach for the Kansas City Chiefs when the Chiefs had a wide receiver that only had one touchdown that year. Remember the year they didn't have any wide receivers or touchdowns? He was the wide receiver coach that year. And that was the last year that he was a position coach. He took a year off, and then he was hired on by the Ravens as the assistant head coach. So, yeah, it's an interesting take down there in Houston. It's a wild hire by the new GM. Right out of left field, but he's an analytics guy. Was highly sought after, so maybe he knows something that we don't. But it's not going to happen overnight in Houston. That's for damn sure.
Well, it sure doesn't look like that. But Chad, what was your reaction when it came to something like this?
I laughed. First off, you brought in the passing game coordinator from a team that can't pass the ball. You're bringing in, you're losing your quarterback as it is. You're going to probably end up drafting a quarterback if you can get a draft pick, or your return's going to be a vet who's probably not going to respect you. He's going to come to end his career there, or you're going to be bringing a young kid in who needs development. And your head coach was on a team that couldn't throw the football. So you're not going to what quarterback's not going to play for him?
Right.
What defensive free agent's going to that's not keeping JJ Watt there. The face of your franchise. You don't have a receiver. You don't have a quarterback. Your offensive line, your best player is left tackle. He's a good player. But outside of that, you don't have much there, and there's not much to sell if you're bringing a coach that no one's even heard of.
Yeah, I think it's about time, what we did for Kirk and what we offered to Nick was we offered for people to pick a new favorite team. I think if you're a Houston Texans fan out there and you want us to pick your new favorite team, I think that's completely appropriate, and just get in touch with us.
Yeah, there's a few on Reddit that have already been asking for new teams or joining forums.
But yeah, no, that whole situation is just a mess, and I don't know what's going on down in Houston. And I feel bad for anybody that's under contract long term there because you're kind of stuck. That's why Deshaun wants out. That whole franchise is a fucking joke right now. We make fun of the Cowboys and Jerry all the time, but man, Jerry and the Cowboys look pretty good right now compared to Houston.
Yeah, it's nice to see the team go up in flames.
Yeah, I mean, at least in a place like Dallas, you know that Jerry's going to be there, so there's a little bit of stability. There's consistency in all the inconsistencies. In Houston, you have no idea what's going to happen. It's Forrest Gump, box of chocolates. But we'll see. This guy could have something figured out. This coach could be the coach of the year next year. Deshaun Watson may still be gone.
Hot takes.
Houston, well, you never know, man. Houston Texans could be in the Super Bowl next year, and
that is drop that bitch.
Scotch is going down smooth tonight, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, okay. If I would have told you last January that the Bucks were going to be in the Super Bowl, would you have been like, "Oh yeah, for sure, no doubt."
I guess you're right. Let us see the off season. Yeah. You're right.
Yeah, maybe Aaron Rodgers goes to Houston.
Holy hell! Stop that kind of conversation.
And everybody,
my God!
All the big free agents follow him down there. JJ Watt, his career is revitalized. Deshaun Watson shipped out of town because he doesn't want to be a part of it. And who else can we bring in? Tony Gonzalez comes out of retirement, gets a new tight end.
Is Prime coming back too, or what?
Yeah, well, hey, I heard he's got a head coaching job. But anyway, now we're getting kind of stupid. There's something that I skipped earlier, and it was a question that I wanted to ask you guys because I heard it on another show, and they were talking about the best Raptor of all time, but not from a statistical standpoint, the most impactful Raptor of all time.
Oh, you go first, Kalen.
Well, I mean, Vince, I think, was the most impactful overall, but the guy who brought the championship to Toronto was Kawhi. We've seen what the team has doing without Kawhi Leonard there. You can't say there's anybody more impactful. Longevity franchise, I guess, like I said, Vince, but the guy brought the ship, man. He brought the ship to Toronto. It's Kawhi.
Yeah.
they go with Vince Carter. And you're wrong on so many levels. I understand he brought a ship, and I'm all about that. Cool, you sold out, you got your guy. But if it wasn't for Vince Carter, they would never have the fans they had. Our generation wouldn't be Raptors fans. The people that are all in Canada and Ontario, like it's because of Vince Carter. Look what happened out in BC. Vancouver lasted what, less than 10 years? Because they didn't have a guy like Vince.
The
He
big
sold
country.
jerseys, he sold
He just did.
yeah, exactly.
He just didn't work out.
Vince sold seats, he sold jerseys, he put Toronto on the map. So it's Vince Carter's the most impactful person that's ever happened to that franchise. No one can ever deny that.
Well, yeah, I mean, when it comes down to it, impactful, for sure, drawing the attention. The franchise can't win a championship in 2018 if the league folds them in 2005, like what you're talking about. Now,
He still had some pretty good ballers there, boys. Damon
hey,
Stoudemire, T-Mac. Come on. T-Mac was there
hey,
before him, too.
yeah, but Tracy McGrady was shit in Toronto.
No,
Tracy McGrady
he
wasn't.
was not.
He
Come
wasn't
on.
anything until he went to Orlando.
Oh,
Like,
wow.
man, the yeah, it's Kyle Lowry, and I was just told in my ear that we need to wrap up. But the reason it's Kyle Lowry is from stability standpoint, from a leadership standpoint. The guy was part of a championship team, but he wasn't just that. He was part of the team when they were rebuilding. He was there along every single step of the way. I would say a guy like DeMar DeRozan is more impactful to Toronto because he brought Kawhi Leonard too.
Yeah, that'd be the next one is DeMar
right?
after Vince.
But yeah, that's just my standpoint. Anyway, we appreciate what you guys, any feedback that you have. I know there's lots of Raptors fans out there. Tell us what you think. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Check us out on Facebook. Make sure that you get on these people that won our contest. Either that or they don't want free food. We are comfortable with write-in votes if anybody wants to try and dunk on them right now. Other than that, boys, cheers. We'll see you guys early next week.
All right. Later.